Hello, good afternoon. My name is Rabbi Nuchem Rosenberg. I'm a very well-known person in the communities worldwide. I was the first one that came out that children in the Orthodox community are being molested by teachers, they're being molested by rabbis, and so forth and so on. I'd like to just share a small idea. There's a picture on the internet where a Jewish boy is minding his own business, going in the street, and a Gentile youngster, goes riding with his bike, and he grabs off his hat and he throws it on the floor. It's very not nice because the boy didn't do him anything. The Jewish boy didn't do him anything. And to get a service like that is very unfair. I would just like to say that in the government language, this is called hate crime. And hate crime is the worst thing that there is. I would just like to refresh my memory what happened the past 12, 13 years. About 12, 13 years ago, I started a war nicely with writing letters to the rabbis that our community is so messed up with molesting boys and girls that it's a shame. They tried to quiet me down by any way possible, but they weren't able to. They had the connections with Mr. Charles Hines, who was then the DA. They had all the connections in all government offices, and there was nothing they were able to do to quiet me down, because I told them if I have to move from the community, I'll still be doing what I have to. Then Malik Schnitzler poured bleach in my eyes, and I told then the newspapers that if I would have to catch these pedophiles with blind dogs, I would do that. It's not going to stop me. Anyway, a lot of years went by. But meanwhile, Satmar, who is supposedly the big power in the city, they were the ones who threw me out of the shul, which I was a member for close to 30 years. Paying membership due every year. They just took somebody whose name is Mr. Elchunan Elfet. He took an umbrella, poked me in my ribs, and he says, "Get out of this shul." I wasn't going to start fighting because I had the mission to do and not to fight. Then there is an evil person there who calls himself, quote-unquote, Rabbi Yitzchak Stern. He is the principal for the younger boys of Satmar at the school on Beverly Avenue in Brooklyn. He is a terrorist. He was kicked out of London from the community. And all he does is he goes around and he wants to see how he can make a living on using small children. He is the one that says that we have to go to stadiums and we have to start fighting against Zionists and we have to start fighting against the Erev. The Erev is an area that you encircle with a string and poles, and therefore you're allowed to carry in that circle on the Sabbath. They come on with so many lies, and they're making the boys, they should be terrorists, exactly like you see videos that the Arabs do in certain third world countries. Boys and girls are 4, 5, or 6 years old. They have machine guns and they teach them, kill all the Jews. There's no difference between those terrorists and the terrorists in our community. Fathers complain that they don't want their children to go to stadiums. They don't want the children to be involved with a mission against Israel. They're too young, these children. They scream out loud that Israel should be destroyed. People don't want all that. But nobody can stop these few evil people that sit in the first row by these rabbis. Whether it's Aaronites or Zolonites, it's all the same. Now, they threw me out from the synagogue and they wrote a letter that I should not come back. And in the same time, they also wrote that they threw me out from the burial society, which means that all the Jewish organizations, they usually have their own graveyard and a burial society. You pay all your life a certain amount. So when you're ready to die, there's an accumulation of money and they don't tax you for the grave. If not, you have to pay a lot of money, $10,000, $20,000 or $30,000, whatever it is, depending on which society and which organization. So they also threw me out from that. So if I would have died these past few years, then I would have been in Pottersfield. Over there, they would accept me, right? All this is done under the name of religion and under the name of love crime. It's not a hate crime, right? It's love crime. They have three main newspapers, the Yid, the Blatt, and the News Report. They had weeks and months, pictures defaming me for no good reason. Full of lies, things that I never even dawned of doing, evil things. It's unbelievable. So people told me there, News NYP, I should sue them. I said no. Once you start that, then they'll come out. He wants to make a buck on us. I don't need their buck. I never did them anything bad, and I did not expect that they should do this to me. Why? Because all I said is, do not molest and abuse sexually or physically or emotionally our children. And I want everybody to know I have no children in school anymore. And when I went out in the war about 15 years ago, all my children were out of school, and I did this solely for the sake of God and His people. I also did a lot of work for the common Gentile population. In the time when I had a war, I met a gentleman who was going to become a priest, and he had been molested in his younger age, and he was also fighting against the church. So this was a heavy, heavy war worldwide, and this is a very serious war. This is the war that we cannot afford to lose. And it's a shame of what these rabbis and these community leaders that we look up on for safety, they were the ones that were the biggest enemies fighting us. It's an unbelievable situation. Then, as time went on, the word went out in the world. I can say here in the States, we did a phenomenal job. I can say that on a scale of 1 to 10, we're up to 8 or 9 in cleanliness. We fought that the government should make all the schools, private schools, have their own video cameras just as they have in public school. And there were fights going on. And they told the judge, we're a holy nation. So I said to the judge, you believe that? He says, no, I know exactly what's going on. They're trying to use the word that they're a holy nation, that nobody should bother them. Anyway, the law went through about 7-8 years ago. Schools are becoming very clean. And in fact, they are very clean. And there's another problem in Judaism. We have what they call a ritual bath for women, and the men were jealous, so they applied that they want also a ritual bath. So in every synagogue you build a ritual bath, and you wouldn't believe what molesting goes on, especially on a Friday, where the children are home from school 12 o'clock. There are pedophiles sitting in that mikveh, which has place for, let's say, 4 or 5 people at a time in the immersion pool, and you have there 20 pedophiles waiting for these children and doing the worst of the worst. We fought that also. There's videos when you go in and you go out, so this way we can know who was there. It's doing very good. It's a slow procedure, but it's doing very good. The only problem is that I am a soldier battling, and I was wounded in the field, and nobody comes to pick me up. I am still in the field fighting. Every year when it comes the New Year and the Day of Atonement, I have to go to Israel, because here, when they made an ostracization on me, the ostracization said nobody should let me in the shul, and everybody hung up in front of their shul. This is only for members. You don't know what these people do to abuse the law and to hurt people who don't even bother them. I declare openly, I do not live or build my house, build my home in Williamsburg because I have anything to do with Satmar or with anybody that has here a shul. I did it because my parents lived here and I continued living here. I tell them exactly, I have nothing to do with your evil things. Now, the big problem why we couldn't make a fast enough job to stop pedophiles has nothing to do, nothing whatsoever, because we're weak and we don't know how to fight. The reason is because the rabbis came in the name of God. I don't know which God they're talking about. Maybe it's the Egyptian gods that they picked up when they were in Egypt. And they came in the name of the Torah, the Bible, and they said, we're not supposed to go to the Gentiles. It's called informing. What a baloney story. Okay? So I asked the rabbis, if that's the case, why don't you take care of it? They said, no, we can't take care of it because, everybody has a person that tells them not to do it and he gives them a few dollars. Do you know in brown paper bags how much money cash twirled around every time we arrested somebody? You wouldn't believe. In the millions of dollars. Fort Knox would be considered poor. What kind of money's twirled around here? What the rabbis did. Unbelievable. But anyway, that's all history. We're still continuing to fight. Why am I making this announcement now? It's because of a very simple reason. I got a call from Yeshiva time Berlin, somebody told me that there's somebody there, a circumciser. He does circumcisions. He has a long beard. He's one of the rabbi's family, and he molests boys right and left. And they threaten that if anything goes out, it'll be a shame because they'll throw him out. So I got a call. Somebody told me, and I told him I have to come down to verify before I put it on the hotline. I do have a hotline which is being listened worldwide by thousands of people. And I told him I have to verify. So nobody wanted to discuss it. Nobody wanted to talk. Until one day somebody writes on Instagram. He says, I was Jewish and I converted to Christianity because there's a Rabbi Max who did what he shouldn't have done to me, and the pain is so big. I just want to clarify for the people, you don't know what kind of pain this is. I went once to visit a person that wanted to kill himself. He cut his wrist and he was in a mental institution. I went to visit him and I asked him, doesn't it hurt you? Why did you do this? He says, Rabbi, the pain of being molested and being shoved around is so much greater than this pain that I don't even feel it. I said, now I understand. And that also makes a lot of sense. There was a person that was burnt in a car, or he burnt himself in a car. People said, how can he do such a thing? And I'll give you the answer. The pain of being molested and being shoved around is much worse. Now, I don't know if that boy in the car was molested, but people in the community talk so, and I don't want to take responsibility. So now he writes a letter that he converted to Christianity because he decided that he can't take the pain of being molested by Rabbi Max. He also had on his hand tattoos that he's going to take revenge. Now, I didn't know that he's going to do such a job, and it's unbelievable. Why, if you want to take revenge of Rabbi Max, what are the two neighbor houses responsible for? And why is his wife and children responsible for? But obviously, they shouldn't think that I give him credit for all this. I discredit him, but ladies and gentlemen, you don't know the pain. I listen to pain of people that are molested for years, 15 years now. It's unbelievable. So what am I aiming for now? I would like the United States government with its law enforcement to know that molesting is going on day and night in our community, even after all the strict things that we enforced here. There's what they call a men's mikveh, that there's so much sperm instead of water that if you would really take a look at it, the government would not believe that this is United States of America in the 21st century. It's a shame of what's happening, and we want that the government should take action. We don't want 3 houses or 4 to burn down. We don't want women and children to be in jeopardy. We don't want teachers and principals who are taking government money, which the government gives because they lie to you that they take care of all problem children. They don't. We don't want that all that money should go to private Rosh Yeshivas, private principals in the pocket, because that's what they do with that money. They don't help any case. If there's any problem, they throw you out from the yeshiva. We want the government to go around with unmarked cars and see how many hundreds of people in all the Jewish communities, Williamsburg, Borough Park, Monsey, Monroe, are in the streets. You go over to a child, they ask him, why are you in the street? Why are you not in school today? He says, well, they threw me out 6 months ago. And you know, the college programs, the grants is running. Who puts it in their pocket? A few Rosh Yeshivas, a few principals, a few deans. And as long as the government cannot sit down with us, they're busy with Satmar and with all these bluffers and also a new square. The man hid millions of dollars that they gave him because he claims he takes care of all problems. Sure, he takes care, throws out the children, and then they go and burn people. It's a shame. We are now by Stalin, exactly like by Stalin in the 1930s. No different change. I read all the books over there. What happened? That Stalin was the one that degraded the Jewish people and all religious people. Now, in the United States, it's the rabbis who stole the money of the children, of the education. And these are the people who are running around, threatening everybody. They have hitmen. We know every person that's a hitman for them. Why does the government allow this? There is a person that says that he can make sure that the children won't do evil sexual things. So he goes and gives them medicine. Now, when I had him on my hotline, he says, no, it's not exactly medicine, it's health food. Is anybody allowed to give for a student in a school health food without their parents' consent or at least their parents' knowledge? knowledge? If the government would know what's going on here, they would say, wow, we go to Russia to make peace, we go to Russia to stop communists. This is worse than communists. I have a WhatsApp, and I also have a blog, and I have a hotline which is being transmitted weekly with hours and hours of education for parents and for children. And what they did to me is they ostracized me because they wanted me to close the hotline. The hotline is the bloodstream of the Jewish neighborhoods. And I get calls. I refer people where they have to be referred. And on the hotline, I say, if there's any sexual abuse, it's called 911. It's a magic number. And I say in Israel, it's 100. And do you know how many hundreds of people are calling? Do you know what kind of move this community made? But where's the government? On everything they come in, and then this, they don't even bother. And I also want to make clear to the government that this society, they were brought up this way, that if you say religion, you have to let yourself being killed for. So now we have a problem with vaccine. There is no religion against taking medication on vaccine. There is no. I'm an ordained rabbi, and I'm willing to testify this at any court. There's a few crazy women who had a misfortune. Either they had a child which after the vaccine, had different problems. But it doesn't have to be that it's the vaccine that made them the problems. So one woman gets nervous. She gives it over to the another woman. There's no education here. Where's all the millions of dollars that should go into education to educate our young women? You know something? In school, they don't even teach them what their private parts of their body are. And that's why everybody was able to do everything wrong with them. They don't teach the boys and they don't teach the girls. And I keep on fighting. The government should step down on this. The government's not supposed to give money for these people. So now, everything goes in the name of religion. When they wanted to excommunicate me, they came name of religion, name of God. Well, that's not the real God. That's a fake God. And it's called money. And that's what they're after. Nothing else. And this is what's happening. So the government buys all the junk from everybody. It's the name of religion. What religion? In which book of law do you find that a woman cannot give a needle for her child? It should be safe. And the thing is, what's really happening, and this is why I'm putting on this hotline, is because of one thing. The Gentiles and our neighbors are getting fed up from all this. If a rabbi on Bedford Avenue makes a wedding, Bedford Avenue is closed. Why? I don't understand. He can't make it on a side street? This is all the garbage that's happening. And the Gentiles and the neighbors, even the Jewish neighbors, are getting very, very fed up from all this. So this is what's really happening. And we're also upset about this because we don't agree to all this. So at the end of the day, we have to understand that vigilantians is something that's going to happen. It's going to happen. Not that I promote it, but it's happening and it's going to happen. About 2 years ago, in Muncie, New York, a boy comes and he bought a rifle and he's going up into the women's section of the synagogue. So somebody met him on the way up and asked him, why are you going up with the rifle into the women's section? He says, because a rabbi threw me out from yeshiva and I want to blow his brains. So the man says to him, tell me, how many years are you shooting with the rifle? He says, it's brand new. I still have the labels on it. So he says, well, what happens if you're going to shoot 6 people and you won't even get the guy who you want to get? He says, go home first, learn how to shoot with the rifle for 2 years and then come back. So meanwhile, he calmed down a little and he didn't kill anybody. This is what's happening now all over. The rabbi of Square, what he did is, he told them, I want a certain shul should dissolve. They didn't listen, so they burned the person who was the leader of the synagogue. Rabbi Rosenberg, you all remember the story. It's not something science fiction. Did he pay anything? Did anybody go to jail? It was a joke. So one day, I was there because I had to visit a sick person in Friedwald, which is a nursing home. And it was on Chalamoid. Chalamoid means intermediate days of Sukkot. There were 10 bicycles, motor bicycles. They were going rum, rum, in front of the Rebbe's synagogue, in front of his sukkah. The sukkah, that's where you sit on the holiday of Sukkot. You eat in a sukkah. So guess what happened? Somebody comes out and says to these children, you better get out of here. They said, listen, it's our parents that live here. We look like this because we were molested by the closest people to the rabbi, teachers, and we're not going anyplace. So 5 minutes later, somebody else comes out and he says, listen, if you don't get out of here, we're going to fight with you. So these boys told him, listen, we have Molotov cocktails in our possession. If anybody puts a hand on us, it'll fly on the Rebbe's sukkah and there'll be such a fire here that everybody's going to run for their life. That's when they walked away. We are being so terrorized that nobody listens to us that at the end, I've been saying this for 4 years already, at the end there's going to be blood in the community. Blood all over. And now that I promote it, I try to stop. On my hotline, I tell them how much you have to just go to the authorities and be humble. But it's happening. So now, here comes another story. A person was molested by Rabbi Max, so he claims. The guy is hurt. He can't forgive himself, and he became a Christian. He still is not calm because that didn't help him too much. And guess what? He wanted to burn the rabbi. He said, I'll take revenge. It's on his arm. You can see it. And he was arrested. They picked him up already. I would like to give the government a message. Before you start putting a blind eye to all these cases, sit down, not with the community leaders. They're bluffers. They're here to lie to you because they get a good check or whatever they have, whatever their position is. Try to sit down with the people that are hurting and that are bleeding. Find out the truth of what's happening. Then you're going to make decisions of how to run this show. When I had my hotline, I have my hotline open already 12, 15 years. When I opened it, I went to the 90th precinct to complain that they're threatening me and whatnot. So there's a guy there, he's a heavy husky guy, and he's the community liaison or in charge of the community affairs. And he says to me, hey, mister, close your hotline and keep your head high. Watch out. I said, what is this? I thought you were a police. You got to serve all sides. I thought when I went to school that they taught us that freedom of speech is the First Amendment. So why are you telling me to close my hotline? Why? Because Satmar is ruling the show here? That's all deadly wrong. And I'm asking the government nicely, if you're not going to crack down on this, it's not going to be good. Because I want you to know people are hurt so much. A person gets married, he takes a wife, and he has a lot of problems until he, raises his children. And he has 10 beautiful children, one nicer than the other. And one teacher does anal sex with him. And then he says his father, he doesn't understand anything. He has to go to another yeshiva and he throws him out on the street. Do you know what an effect that does on all the siblings? Do you know what an effect that does on fathers and mothers and on grandfathers and grandmothers? And you think that we are here to stay, to listen and look at this and not do anything? So basically, again, I'm not promoting that it should happen, but it is going to happen. Because when they come to me and they talk their heart out, I see where they're up to. They're not up to stage 1, not stage 2. They're up to final stages. There will come a time when every principal and teacher will have to go with 4 bodyguards plus bulletproof vests. That's how angry the students are. For no good reason, they get kicked out. And that is also sometimes after the principal took $50,000 under the table and promised him he won't throw him out. And at the end of the year, he says, go to hell. He says, go away. That's it. So please, we need a lot of adjustments. We have to sit down with the right people, the ones that suffered, and not Moshe David Niederman. There came a time now that some people claim that the Rebbe of Satmar did not hold from the Erev. An Erev means that you encircle an area with a string or a wire upon poles, and you can carry on Shabbos. So I told him it's a lot of baloney, because the rabbi knew that on Sukkot, if it's on Shabbos, there's public Sukkot, and everybody carries on the Erev. They even offered him to use one of these Sukkot because he had a lot of people. He didn't want. So they're coming out now with all the lies. Moshe David Niederman said everybody can go to the protest. I didn't hear it direct from him, but this is how it went around. Because the police are with us. I made sure the police are with us. Who are the police? Why should they be with you? We also have a side. And I called up then the law system and told them, listen, it's not good because if you're not going to take a look at both sides, there's going to be blood in the streets. I saw there was a lot of law people watching. I want to ask you a question. Does anybody have the right to go over to a lady and scream at her? Not plain screaming, but screaming so hard. You're not supposed to carry. These women get frightened. Their rabbi and their husband said that they could carry. Who are these people? Are these people forcing upon us things that's not true? Several weeks ago, they sicked a dog on a pregnant woman that was going with the carriage. I don't know if she didn't lose her child. She wouldn't be able to say it to anybody because there's nobody to listen to all this. She says it and say, "Hey, you're a liar." I heard from people firsthand that she started running for her life, but she's pregnant. Let's say 3 things. Number 1, Rabbi Joel Teitelbaum held that you shouldn't have a native. So that's his opinion. opinion. He is not the opinion of the whole city. It's his personal opinion. The followers should listen. The second thing is, and even if the woman decides that she doesn't want to listen, do you have to scare her away? She's not a taxpayer like everybody else. That's called freedom of religion. And the third thing is that it's a lie. I just gave out postings on my WhatsApp that the secretary of Rabbi Teitelbaum, who was his secretary for 40, 50 years, wrote a letter that the Rebbe gave for somebody, Rabbi Krause, a few $100s, he should start building an Erev. And the other thing is that Rabbi Krause has a brother that wrote that the Rebbe told him that they're going to build an Erev. That Rabbi Teitelbaum told him they're going to build an Erev. That's Rabbi Joel Teitelbaum. So I don't understand. The Rebbe knew that we were carrying on Yom Tov, on the holidays, and he didn't say anything. And also, there's two letters, one from the Rebbe's secretary, from one of the rabbis in the city, that the Rebbe wanted it should be. So there comes the crazy people, they say no. So here comes some people that say, no, the Rebbe didn't want it, didn't want. What is all this going on? Who should we believe? There's somebody, an instigator, I said his name before, his name is Stern, Yitzchak Stern. He makes a mint on this. He goes collecting money for this because people are carrying on the air. He makes a whole fuss, collects money, rents stadiums, and we have to be obligated to all that. No way. If the government won't help, there's going to be vigilantes. And again, I'm not threatening. I'm telling you the facts of life. We're going to start with vigilantes, not with me. Those people who are, a woman carries a baby in a carriage. She gets screamed in the streets. And also, her husband is not accepted in the shul. They ostracize him because his wife, goes with the carriage. What do these people think? Sabbath is the prime time by Jews. We don't work. We don't do anything. We don't even touch anything. So he wants to go out with her, with the children, prime time, or to visit their parents. And I want to show you the whole bluff, what's happening. In every street, they have a small Erev. They have a small thing that's around and around and around, and they all carry. So what's the difference if the whole city has an Erev, the string around? Because then these vigilantians won't be able to make money on it. We don't want to have anything to do with these vigilantians. We don't want to know about them, and we need the government help to come into this community and all Jewish communities and stop this. Rabbi Hager from Monsey passed away about a year or two ago. He had in Monsey an Erev. When it came in New York to make an Erev, these terrorist went to him, and he was afraid. So he says, in Williamsburg, in Borough Park, they should make an Erev. So people went in, Rabbi, teach us why. You heard something between the cracks from God, a voice that Williamsburg and Borough Park is different than Monsey? He says, I have a very, very hidden reason, and I don't want to discuss it. Well, they all said, listen, goodbye. We don't know you either. This is what happened. They all have hidden reasons and all other things. So please, government, we need help. You have to get together with the community, not with the leaders, with the hundreds of people that are on the street, hundreds of boys and girls that are roaming the streets all day, and their checks is running from the government. Children's education money, high school education money, it has to stop. My name is Rabbi Nuchem Rosenberg. You can listen to my hotline every week. The hotline is in Yiddish. Now this week I have something very important. I myself counted 100 children or more going with the two-wheel bike in Williamsburg, and they did not wear helmets. And I go over to every child. I'm not embarrassed. I'm an ostracization anyway. I have nothing to lose. And everything that I talk to them is recorded, because otherwise the father will say, maybe you wanted to touch my child. No, I don't want to touch your child. So I tell them, please go home and tell mommy you need a helmet. What do you think they say? Just go on further. They don't even care. And then if somebody's going to get killed, they will run on the streets. Hey, they killed a Jew. They killed somebody. The biggest Jew killers and the biggest Jew haters are the lay community leaders and the rabbis. Thank you very much. My hotline number is 951-262-3714. It's a long distance call, so if you don't have long distance, you'll be charged a lot. That has nothing to do with me. I don't run that part of the show. It's a hotline in California.